So today being the appearance day of Srila Vrindavana Thakura, I'd like to read this beautiful book by him, a section from Sri Caitanya bhagavata, describing the Lord's organizing the sankirtana party to the house of Kazi, who tried to stop the sankirtana movement. When Lord Chaitanya heard that all the Vaishnavas had assembled at his behest and were on his doorsteps, he went to them and began to organize them into groups. Advaita Acharya was to head up and be the chief dancer in one group, supported by a kirtan group. In another group, Haridas was the leader and dancer. He also was backed by a kirtan group. Yet another group was to be led with the main dancer being Srivas Pandit. The Lord's eyes fell on Nityananda, who immediately said, "I will not leave your side, my Lord. My only duty is to be near you always. I can never leave your lotus feet. They are embedded in my heart. What power do I possess to dance independently away from you? My devotional service to you is that I am always with you." When Sri Caitanya saw the streams of ecstasy flowing from the eyes of Nityananda, he embraced him and kept him near himself. In this way, everyone had his desire fulfilled. Some went off with his group, others stayed close to the Lord, dancing and singing. Now please listen attentively to the description of this Nagar Kirtan, for this will cut asunder the bonds of karmic reactions. Here is the list of some of the main devotees who came: Gadadhar Pandit, Vikreshwar, Murari, Srivas Pandit, Gopinath, Jagadish, Vipra Gangadas, Ramai, Govindananda, Chandrasekhar, Vasudev, Sri Garba, Mukunda, Sridhar, Govinda, Jagadananda, Nandanacharya, and Shuklambar. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya are innumerable, and I do not know all their names. Vedas will reveal all their names in the future in the Puranas. What human being has the ability to describe the Lord's dancing with his unlimited associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions? The sankirtan pastimes of the Lord are unique. Never before, in any other incarnation, were such pastimes ever revealed. As the kirtan picked up gusto, the Lord's joy also increased. The devotees were carried away in waves of sublime joy. The Lord and husband of the goddess of fortune was dancing on the streets of Navadvipa, and anyone who saw him became free from all sorrows. Soon it was dusk, but the devotees were perfectly engrossed in the kirtan, oblivious of the material realm. Standing in doorways, millions of men, women and children lined the streets, seeing the moving mass of men whose tumultuous singing of the holy name of the Lord echoed and filled the cosmos. Above this tumult rang loud and clear the Lord's own thunderous voice. The devotees replied with equal gusto, chanting the name of Lord Hari. Then magically, as if by previous arrangement, all the torches were lit at the same time. Millions of flaming torches lit up the darkened sky, matched only by the millions of hearts kindled by the delight of sublime bliss. Words fail to describe the marvelous sight. One could be easily confused and wonder if it were a night of the full moon, perhaps broad daylight, or perhaps even Krishna himself had manifested his Brahmajyoti. The Lord repeatedly called out the name of Sri Hari, and the devotees became attentive. They surrounded the Lord with a kirtan party. All the devotees were decorated with flower garlands around their neck, and their bodies were smeared with sandalwood paste and scented vermilion powder. They all had various musical instruments in their hands, and looked more powerful than thousands of lions. The Lord looked around himself to see his devoted servitors eagerly waiting to render him any service. He began to dance, lifting the devotees to soaring heights of ecstasy. Everyone began chanting loudly, and whoever saw the Lord's moon-like beautiful face was released from the searing pains of material existence. The Lord's charming looks easily overshadowed the attractiveness of millions of cupids. I am at a loss to find the appropriate similes to describe the beauty of the Lord, yet I venture to do so by His mercy alone. Otherwise, who would dare to attempt such an impossible task? He glowed like a mountain of gold. His body, being smeared with sandalwood paste, sometimes looked like the rising full moon. His curly dark tresses were decorated with fragrant malati garlands. A sweet smile clung intimately to his lips that could surely win the hearts of all the muses. Sandalwood tilak with a red dot of vermilion clearly adorned his beautiful broad forehead. Chanting the name of Hari, he raised his arms up in the sky and danced. The knee-length flower garland around his neck swayed with each movement. His upraised arms glistened with fine tapering pillars of gold, and his body became drenched with the incessant flow of ecstatic tears from his lotus petal eyes. As the ecstatic feelings increased, the hairs of his body stood on end, like the ever-fresh kadamba flower. His moist reddish lips were so exquisite. When they parted, they revealed a symmetrical set of pearl-like white teeth. The long arched eyebrows languished almost all the way to the beginning of his ears. His strong shoulders shamed the king of elephants, and his chest was broad and full. The Brahman thread hung loosely across his chest. Lakshmi Devi and Tulsi Devi constantly pray for the shelter of his lotus feet. The Supreme Lord wears his fine and clean clothes very artistically. The high nose is aristocratic, and the sinewy tendons of his neck give the impression of being the neck of the king of the forest, strong and powerful. He towers over others, his long body well formed and beautifully proportionate, shining like a mountain of gold. Everyone looking at him commented on his divine and beautiful presence. The millions who milled around for this momentous occasion were very fortunate, and in spite of their large numbers, they all received the Lord's benediction by being able to see the Lord's exquisite transcendental face. They simply stared at him, irresistibly drawn to his beauty, and spontaneously exclaimed aloud the Lord's name as uncontrollable emotions welled up within their hearts. The citizens had nicely decorated their doorways with banana trees, water pots, mango leaves and green coconuts. A ghee lamp flickered in every house, and an offering plate sat upon all the altars, holding yogurt, grains, and durva grass. All this happened as if at the command of an unseen voice. Out onto the streets, men, women and children poured to join the congregation. All were intoxicated with sublime joy, oblivious to every other care. Seeing the carefree citizens leaving their houses unguarded, a thief thought to himself, "This is good opportunity for me to clean out the people's belongings." However, as time passed and the chanting entering his ears took effect, the thief lost his thieving tendencies and joined in with the others, joyously chanting Lord Hari's sweet transcendental name. The streets were strewn with puffed rice and coins thrown by the citizens as they watched the chanting procession passing by. Later they themselves joined the procession, and so the march swelled in numbers. One should not consider these descriptions as exaggerations. Such happenings are commonplace when the Supreme Lord is present. When Lord Krishna was in Dwarka, the Srimad Bhagavatam describes that in the twinkling of an eye he made appear 900,000 palaces, all bedecked with jewels and marble. Again in the Harivamsa it is described that when Lord Krishna was enjoying water sports with the Yadus in the saltwater ocean that surrounds Dwarka, the entire ocean in a moment turned nectarine sweet. Now that very same Supreme Lord is present in Navadvipa, almost unconscious with sublime bliss, dancing and chanting, so naturally all auspicious happenings are occurring. The ocean of people now surged forward in slow, fluid motion, like the current of the Ganga, which flowed beside them. They all danced and chanted, surrounding the dancing golden form of the Lord. Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Pandit, and other senior associates of the Lord led huge groups of dancing and chanting devotees, everyone exulting in the bliss of the Lord's presence. Those who previously could not sing were now singing with the sweetest melodious voices. The best singers surrounded the Lord, Murari, Mukunda Datta, Ramai, Govinda, Vikreshwar, and Vasudeva. Lord Nityananda and Gadadhar Pandit danced on either side of the Lord, completely submerged in divine bliss. The dancing and celebrating form of the Lord brought wonderment and exhilaration to the hearts of all who beheld his golden form. This was a magnificent sight. The dancers moved forward with rhythmic motions. Simultaneously, millions of burning torches also moved, their licking flames animated in a passionate dance. It was night, but the dancing figure of the Lord was clearly visible, as if bathed full moon light of autumn. Sometimes his body was covered with shining dust particles, and at other times he bathed his transcendental form in his cascading tears of ecstasy. The different ecstatic symptoms appeared in his body, sometimes shivering, sometimes profuse perspiration, again at other times horripilation. They changed like the seasons. The sound of the Lord's name reverberated throughout the universe. Haraya Namaha, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopal Govindaram, Srimad Madhusudan. Some devotees danced on their own, but there were many large groups of devotees dancing together, keeping time by clapping hands. Another wonderful sight was the innumerable devotees, all carrying torches and oil containers. Navadvipa was ringing with the sounds of sublime jubilation, as if the Lord's spiritual abode, Vaikuntha, had descended. Now the residents of Navadvipa acquired the same characteristics as the residents of Vaikuntha. They all manifested 4 arms, but because they were so engrossed in the ecstasy of chanting and dancing, they did not even notice this divine transformation of their person. Engulfing all was the ever-increasing bliss of Vaikuntha. As they passed by the bank of the Ganga, Sri Caitanya, dancing in the midst, looked like Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, with a flute in his hand and a garland of wild flowers swaying around his neck.